Okay.
Peace. We'd like to welcome everyone to the Sista Cypha on Sirius Mindz Rntv. We ask that everyone hit the like button, subscribe, and share. If you would like to donate to the platform, you can hit up Professor Griff on Cash App, or you can hit up Super Chat. We have a couple announcements before we get started on our topic tonight. So if you would like to participate in the Alternative Black Studies course series, you can email Professor Griff at Sirius Mindz with a Z, info@gmail.com. And I'll go ahead and drop the email in the chat room for those who want to participate. We also are doing a fundraiser right now for the Alternative Black Studies. So if you want to purchase some merchandise to help, funds towards that class or series of classes, you can hit up Professor Griff on Cash App, and that's the $ Professor Griff. I'll also drop that in a link as well. And also, he will be with Dr. Wesley Muhammad on November 23rd from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 112 Hunt Street in Durham, North Carolina. Pre-sale tickets are $20 and at the door is $25, and they will be discussing the weaponization of Black music. So if you want to join him, feel free to hit Professor Gift up and he'll go ahead and send you the info on ticket sales. So ladies, I have with me, or should I say chat room, I have with me Alex Little and Scorpio 16. Ladies, you want to say hello to the chat room?
Peace to the chat room. Hello, everyone. Peace. This is Alex Little, Sirius Mindz family, Professor Griff. Blessings.
Peace, Sirius Mindz family. This is Scorpio 16. Shout out to Professor Griff for having us on the platform. I hope everyone is doing well this evening, and I'm ready to get started.
All righty. So, and as you know, I'm Quan, so peace to the chat room. Ladies and gentlemen, so we are going to discuss something that has been going on for the last 5 years. And I'm quite sure you've probably heard about the crisis in Flint, Michigan. If you're not familiar, I will drop a link in the chat room so you can become informed and abreast to what's going on in Flint, Michigan. But I want to talk about this because here we are 5 years later and still there's no change to the water situation in Flint, Michigan. And what I want to do, especially, I want to get the feedback from Alex because she is from Detroit and I know she has more of a ground zero knowledge about what's going on there. I mean, I can only pull sources from what the news tell us and what we can pull from off the internet, but I know she has firsthand knowledge about what's going on there. But we are going to discuss this topic, and I do want to get your feedback, ladies, on your thoughts on the situation. So before we begin, I do want to read some things to kind of give you a little background on Flint, Michigan. And for those of you who don't know, it is said that Flint was once a thriving home of the nation's largest General Motors plant. And they said basically the city's economic decline began during the 1980s when GM downsized. In 2011, the state of Michigan took over Flint's finances after an audit projected a $25 million deficit. So in order to reduce the water fund shortfall, the city announced that a new pipeline would be built to deliver water from Lake Huron to Flint. And in 2014, while the pipeline was under construction, the city turned to the Flint River as a water source. Soon after the switch, residents started reporting changes to the water's color, smell, and taste. And during 2015, the Environmental Protection Agency, which is EPA, started doing tests, and Virginia Tech also indicated that dangerous levels of lead was found in the water. And lead consumptions, basically, for those of you who don't know, basically can cause effect to your heart, to your kidneys, to your nerves, and basically there's a lot of health effects that can come from lead being found in your water. and especially with young children. And we'll also get on that as well. And so basically a class action lawsuit charged the state wasn't treating the water, which obviously caused anti-corrosive agents, and it's a violation of the federal law. And so what's basically happening, ladies and gentlemen, you have a failure and neglect of the federal government. And obviously this was on a watch of Obama, and he obviously dropped the ball on it. Trump obviously is not doing anything about it. I mean, you see a lot of celebrities who are, you know, volunteering their services by sending clean bottled water to Flint, but at the end of the day, the federal government has did nothing. And as I'm reading the story, and I know if this was like in a well-to-do, wealthy, white, rich, if you will, neighborhood, this would have never happened. Or if it did happen, it would have already been fixed. So ladies, I want to get your take on it, and then we're going to dive deeper into basically the issues going on in Flint, and I want to get your take on it, and we would love to get your feedback in the chat room as well. So ladies, what's your take on it?
Peace chat, Alex Little here. Yeah, it's a crazy situation. It's really messed up, and it hasn't been handled, and mismanagement of money is really one of the problems. You know, with the lead is in the pipes are corroded, and it's really a mismanagement of money. So when the state of Michigan got involved, you know, it made me wonder, well, who was governor in 2013, 2014, 2015 for the state of Michigan? So I Googled it right quick. I'm like, okay, Rick Snyder. Well, Rick Snyder, that says a lot because he's connected with the DeVosses. And the DeVosses, you know, Betsy DeVos from West Michigan, that's part of Trump. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what I'm saying, like, who mismanaged the money? And Quan, you're absolutely right, because there's several articles that, you know, I checked out, and I know some of us checked out in regards to how Flint, Michigan used to be thriving. And, you know, where it's at today, and with the water corrosion, the lead levels for the children, and how everyone's being affected, there's still been no criminal charges brought against any leadership who dropped the ball. So it's a really frustrating situation because we don't even know what the severity of the lead poisoning can produce biologically, psychologically, how contaminated that land really is. And if you go from lead pipes to copper pipes, how long is that realistically going to take? So I just have a lot of questions, like, why did you switch to that water source? Was that the ultimate conclusion? And who projected that? So it's just a sloppy situation, and it sounds like criminal neglect, to be honest, because people are dying and no one's been held accountable. So my question is to the Black Trump supporters, are we going to question him in regards to what he has done for the Flint water system? And is he going to invest any money, government funding, into the Flint water systems to have it repaired?
To be honest with you, I doubt it very seriously because, one, it's not a district he won, and he's not going to, number one, put any Black person or African American or more melanated, whatever you want to call yourself, he's not going to put them to the forefront. I mean, he's going to say what he needs to say to kind of get votes. But at the end of the day, it's not his voting base. So he's not going to do anything, unfortunately. But I think we have a tall task. We need to hold these politicians, including the president, accountable. So I want to get your take on it, 16, and then we'll move forward with this.
Okay. I'm kind of multitasking between several different tabs. I pulled some things up and just trying to get a better understanding of, you know, how this progressed over time and why this situation is still going on over the course of, 5 years? I think this is 5 years now. 5 years too long. Alex brought up some great points about mismanagement of money because I'm seeing that come across in some of the old articles that I'm looking over. Absolutely the lead pipes. But one thing that you brought up, Alex, that is key to what's going on here. was Rick Snyder being governor and the connection to Betsy DeVos. Okay. And this is how it's going to rub me the wrong way. Betsy DeVos is part of the Trump squad. And she was given a position as head over education. Okay. So I have my own issues with Betsy DeVos. These are people who are appointed into positions that they're clueless. Okay. Their money and their influence is what got them in these positions. So it kind of lays the foundation as to why the questions I had, basically, why has it gone on for so long? Who made the decisions to do what? Why was the water, who made the ultimate decision, as Alex asked, who made that decision to switch the water source over? I was kind of trying to look into that to see exactly who made that decision, because that could not be just a one person making such a huge decision. I still have not come across exactly who it is, but my concerns is the article that I read in the New York Times, and I will share that article in the chat tonight. And it's titled, "Flint's Children Suffer in Class After Years of Drinking the Lead Poisoned Water." That article was written on November 6th, so it's very recent. And there's a whole lot in this article that goes on about how it's affecting the children in the area, and the way it's looking, the damage is probably irreversible at this point.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, and this is the mayoclinic.org, and I just want to read some of this because I want us to have a basic understanding of not only symptoms, but basically what can happen to the residents there. And so it says lead poisoning occurs when lead builds up in the body, often over months or years. Even small amounts of lead can cause serious health problems. Children younger than 6 years are especially vulnerable to lead poisoning, which can severely affect mental and physical development. At very high levels, lead poisoning can be fatal. That means ultimately, not only the residents, but the children can die. They are the most vulnerable. And it also goes on to say that the symptoms can be developmental delay, learning difficulties, irritability, loss of appetite, weight loss, sluggishness and fatigue, abdominal pain, vomiting, constipation, hearing loss, seizures, and I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And in adults, it can cause high blood pressure, joint and muscle pain, difficulties with memory and concentration, headaches, abdominal pain, mood disorder. Oh, wow. Reduction of sperm count. Wow. Miscarriage, stillbirth, and premature birth in pregnant women. So this is real. This is like crazy that here it is. All of these things that can happen to a young child. I mean, I feel for every resident there, but children, they really are, how can I put this? They are the most vulnerable. So they have, it's not like they can fend off, you know, their body immune system is not as strong as an adult. So it's like just looking at all of these symptoms, my mind is going crazy. As a parent, I would probably lose it to know that my child is experiencing these types of symptoms and I can do nothing about it. And to know that it's not something that can be reversed. So ladies, I want to get your take on it, because to me, it's like, if anything, you know, why are we not at least trying to get, you know, those who are complaining about symptoms, the help to at least treat some of these symptoms? Because obviously it can't be reversed. But I just want to know, like, because I haven't seen anything about how they're getting treated, what types of medicines are they receiving, and if so, because a lot of times the World Health Organization want to step in and do these trial medications to see if they can kind of, you know, rid symptoms or get rid of quote unquote, you know, diseases and what have you. So I have a ton of questions, but I want to get your take on it, ladies.
Yeah, that's very frustrating, and it's sad because children, they don't even have a fighting chance. We're supposed to protect children and provide a safe environment. I mean, that's humanitarianism right there. That's humane rights. You know what I'm saying? Safe drinking water for a healthy livelihood. I read an article earlier too, and I want to read it. I think it's very pertinent to what's going on. And this was from an author by the name of Anna Clark, and the book is called "The Poisoned City: Flint's Water and the American Urban Tragedy." And there's a few points in here that are really, really important. So basically, on Flint's history with issues like racism, segregation, and redlining. In quotations, the water crisis did not start with the switch in April 2014. I think it really goes back decades. Flint, unfortunately, was the most segregated city in the North and the third most segregated city nationwide. And as it became a destination for African American migrants from the South, where its population was exploding, everybody's coming to these General Motor plants, which was really brought to a point of crisis. It had two neighborhoods where Black people could live, and very explicitly, they were denied access to other homes. Once there was fair housing laws and school desegregation laws that broke down the system, Flint's population started to decline, as a lot of these white middle class and upper class folks left. So Flint today has less than half the number of residents as it had in the 1960s. The infrastructure did not shrink along with the population. So it has far fewer and poorer people who are expected to pay to support a water system meant to serve twice as many. And not just residents, but also all those huge industrial plants. The pipes were built with large circumferences to support all the water that they needed. So this directly relates to how unaffordable the water was for residents. So I just want to put that into perspective, because if racism is the fundamental issue here, what is really going on? It is criminal neglect. Why are we failing to issue proper water to this community? That's not fair. That's not equity. That's not just. That's not humane. And it's still being overlooked. So that was a really pertinent article. And there's one more briefly from the New York Times. And this deals with around the time frame the decision was being made to make the switch. And it says, with so much loss, Flint needed help, an emergency plan, a large-scale intervention of some kind. But not only was there no hope of a bailout of the kind given to the auto industry and Wall Street banks in 2008 and 2009, the state of Michigan exacerbated Flint's woes by dramatically reducing the money that it funneled to its cities. In a practice called revenue sharing, the state redistributes a portion of the money it collects in sales tax to local governments. That plus property taxes are what cities use to pay for public services. But between 1998 and 2016, Michigan diverted more than $5.5 billion that would ordinarily go to places such as Flint to power streetlights, mow parks, and plow snow. Instead, the state used the money to plug holes in its own budget. This was highly unusual. As Michigan made cuts, 45 other states managed to increase revenue sharing to their cities by an average of 48%, despite a national economic downturn that affected everyone. So basically, again, and then last of this article says, for Flint, this translated into a loss of about $55 million between 2002 and 2014. That amount would have been more than enough to eliminate the city's deficit, pay off its debt, and still have a surplus. But the money never came. And at the same time, Flint was stuck with the Great Recession, the mortgage crisis, a major reconstruction of the auto industry, and a crippling drop in tax revenue. So with all this going on, who the hell was mismanaging the money? Why was the ball dropped? Instead of choosing a different water source or rearranging funding, it's like they said, fuck it, pardon me, just give them the Flint River water, knowing damn well it's harder to treat chemicals in that water compared to the Great Lake water. So everything is being swept under the rug, and somebody needs to be held accountable so this can stop and be reversed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy, because when I think about it, honestly, I was reading this exact same article, or book, should I say, and I pulled it from off the internet, obviously, but it's, to me, whoever this woman is, they need to put her on a loudspeaker and they need to like bring her to the White House and let her speak on behalf of the Flint residents, because honestly, I don't really see too many people out there like exposing this stuff, and it's not like it's not known, and it's like the media is like seriously neglecting this issue, this topic, and they're not really focusing on Flint. Instead, they're focusing on Trump trying to get impeached. And to me, it's like, no, this is more dire. This is something that we need to discuss. And why are we not protesting this? Yes, we're protesting about ADOS and reparations and all of this nonsense, but you have people on the verge of dying. They said you need water like you need air. You hear what I'm saying? You need that more than anything else to survive in this world. And it's just amazing that people are just going about their ways and they're not giving a damn about what's going on. And I guess because it's not in their own backyard, that's why it's not, it's not a big issue. Hey, well, it's not in my backyard. It's not my house. It's not my family. So why should I be concerned? But it's like, right. No, everyone should be concerned.
Absolutely.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey, everyone.
Peace to the chat room, Carrie. How are you?
Hello. I'm well. Yes, I rush over.
Peace, cat boogie for the Bronx.
Okay, so what's your take on it? We're gonna let 16 answer it, and then we're gonna go to you, Cat Boogie.
No problem.
Okay, I kind of was jotting down notes while both of you ladies were talking, and I'm gonna hit on a couple of things that Alex said first. And Alex, I'm gonna respond to you by saying that what you're describing from the article and the excerpt from the book that you read, this sounds like another Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because I think that at any given time that they can fix this water situation. So my question would be, was this purposely done to rid the city of the residents so that they can repopulate the city?
Good question.
Yeah, I think so. Wow. Think so. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna let Cat Boogie jump in, and then we're gonna jump into that question.
I agree with 16. Was this a plot? Did they have this? Because usually when you plan, you have something already in store. You have the year, the date, how to execute your plan. So to have a brother invent something and someone quickly damage it right away, and then we don't, like you stated, we don't have anyone coming to the rescue. We have millionaires, we have billionaires who are African American of color who can come right now, swoop in, and give him the money that he needs so he can reproduce through a replica. So I would like to see when someone's going to come, like you said, and be up in arm and speak about it and help the people that need it the most. The water, that's earth. That's something that we need in our body. We're 98% of water.
So going back to 16's question, like, just as an architect, I will tell you, whenever a city plans, whether it's highways, whether it's buildings, whether it's any type of construction, that plan is set forward sometimes 10, 20 years ahead. So this whole idea of them, and it's especially because this is a utility infrastructure plan, I can almost bet this was put into place 20 years prior. Because they have to plan accordingly, because they're going to be shutting down roads. It takes a long time to basically bring the infrastructure together. They have to send out bids. They have companies that have to bid on it, and then they land the contract and award the company who wins the bid. So it takes time. So this is something that has probably been in the works. Unfortunately, again, like what I've read, misappropriations of funds, and so they decided, let's just see if we can just throw the money this way. But one of the things that I wanted to basically talk about was, do you think this is a form of genocide? Because honestly, I think it is. I mean, again, as I shared at the beginning of the session, I honestly believe that because it's predominantly Black community, that this is their way of genociding us. And why? Because they know, hey, had this been a group of white folks or in a wealthy, rich community, this wouldn't have happened. And I see this as a form of genocide. So I want to get your take on it, ladies, and tell me if I'm off base or if I'm wrong, please tell me. But I want to know, do you see this as a form of genocide?
I see it as a form of genocide. And also, I'm coming from an urban planning field background. And I also know the waterfront is where the money at, real estate. So you're absolutely right. They had this plan maybe like you stated, 10, 20 years ago. So that's where the money's at. Even in New York City, wherever there's water, they build these tall, high-rise buildings. They don't even care who's there right now. It's all about money, making money, building these homes, building these real estate, making money. So I believe it's to push out low-income people and anyone else that doesn't have that capacity to pay a certain amount of money. Just push them out, displace them, and let's keep moving.
Right, exactly. That brings everything that my question that I posed earlier to kind of full circle. That kind of wraps it around and makes it, kind of makes sense. Because I immediately, when I heard what Alex said, and in conjunction with what you said, Quan, immediately that question popped into my head. Are they purposely doing this, to rid the city? Because we know all of this planning takes place. I don't know all of the background planning that takes place, but I'm sure it's massive amounts of planning, massive amounts of hours of mapping out certain things and how this is, how all of this is going to, be put together or whatnot. I'm not too privy on that part, but as far as me looking at it from a regular person looking from the outside looking in, I can see that this clearly might be questionable as to whether they just want all of the people or the current residents of that area out so that they can repopulate this area with more wealthy people. We're kind of used to that here in Louisiana. We get displaced all the time. But down here they use weather, against us. So it's like every area. Now, I do have another question I would like to pose. I'm not from the North, so maybe Alex or Carrie can answer this for me, because I had a friend that I know a few people that shared stories about the same issue with lead in Baltimore some years ago, and I have an article pulled up. So this seems like this is not a problem. This is not the first time this happened. Do you ladies have any insight or any information regarding the Baltimore lead issues?
I'm not sure about Baltimore, but I mean, it's rampant in Michigan. I mean, Lansing, Flint, all the surrounding areas. It's so random, 16. This past Sunday, I was in supervision for my degree plan. And one of the topics my supervisor was discussing with us, she had a client once who had a daughter who was brilliant, beautiful, young, articulate. And for some reason, biologically, she just declined. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And it turned out, after doing like so many tests, she was peeling paint chips off the window and chewing it, lead-based paint.
Oh, wow.
So that right there shows you how it can take a toll on a child, because a child consumes it 5 times more rapidly than we do. So yes, genocide, we're being wiped out prior to even having a chance. And if that sounds harsh, it's even more harsh being insidious and benign, the way it's being neglected to be taken care of and fixed. So, but no, I haven't heard about Baltimore 16, but that struck a chord.
Yeah. Well, I have an article, and I'm just going to say the title, and I'm going to let Carrie weigh in. The title of this article, because the title alone is going to give you something to think about. The title is Ignoring the Link Between Lead Poisoning and Crime Imperils of Black Americans. And this article goes back, and it kind of links the Freddie Gray situation into it. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, my information, I haven't heard anything from Baltimore. I have any, knowledge of what's going on here. But in New York City, we have a tendency, the buildings from back then were lead-based and everything, and many childs on the child welfare. We have cases where child eat the paint, develop, type of health issues. Maybe they slur in their speech, and they have IEPs because of it, or other health reasons that go undetected. So nowadays we try to have the building lead free, like I stated earlier, and there's certain things you can't do. If you violate the code, you get sanctioned and stuff. So we have stories here too with lead paint and everything else, and kids eating paint, chip paint from the walls and stuff like that.
So let me just say this, because again, 16, I just want to piggyback on what you're saying. This is common. Like, there's a story that came out back in, this story was actually put out in February of this year. But basically, it talks about the millions of gallons of untreated raw sewage that was released in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I don't know if you're familiar with the lay of the land or the demographics, but there's a lot of Black people that live there. So the federal government has a tendency to kind of dump their waste on vulnerable communities, predominantly Black communities, and communities who, as I would say, don't have a voice in the political realm. But it's very common, and I was reading it, and it says it will take $271 billion with a B, Billy, to actually fix it. I'm like, oh my God, like why are we not holding our politicians accountable when this happens? Because the EPA is supposed to be our defense between what the federal government does and what happens to our communities. And I can remember in New Orleans, in the lower ninth ward, not lower, but the upper ninth ward, basically they had to sue the city of New Orleans along with, the EPA, because they built the projects on top of a landmine. And I mean, a landfill, and basically they had to sue. And they are basically, all the land values went down. People are getting cancer. And I know I may be going off a little bit off topic a little bit, but it all ties in. I'm just basically trying to show you guys how this is not anything new. The federal government does this shit. It just gets hidden and it's not heard of on what we call the media, because they're not talking about these things. But, again, the residents of the upper ninth ward, they had to sue. Till this day, the EPA did all their testing and did everything and said, yes, the federal government is responsible, but guess what? Nothing happens. And I guess it brings me to my next question, like, why are the federal government not being sued right now? I know in the article it said that there's class action lawsuits, but I want to know, like, at what point are these people going to get paid? At what point is the water going to be fixed? Like, you should be held accountable, and your compensation should be in the point of billions of dollars. And I just want to know your take on it, ladies, because obviously, I'm not seeing anybody cut any checks, and clearly the federal government is held responsible for this. So I want to get your take on it, and we'll move on to the next questions.
Hey, Alex here. I'm going to chime in real quick and time off. It's getting noisy where I'm at. But I want to say, Trump don't care about environmental protection. Has anyone checked the White House Census Bureau annual reports in regards to the air quality? Has anybody checked, legitimately how things have declined and different policies in different counties? It's sloppy. It all comes down to money. And this is nothing new. So,
yeah, isn't he trying to reverse all the EPA protection rights and laws? He's trying to reverse that, because anything that protects us from an environmental standpoint, Trump is trying to reverse. Why? I would love to know, because it's like, dude, you breathe in the same air. Like, why are you not trying to protect this? Like, are you ready to die?
Yeah, and Quan, lastly too, real quick, I wanted to say that it's sloppy, because even in Mali and Guinea, when the French wanted to recolonize, and Mali and Guinea basically said no, they put cement in the sewer system. So it's the same mindset. What are we dealing with? Is it really genocide in a benign, neglectful manner? It's not cold.
You're right. You're absolutely right. What's your take on it, Scorpio and Carrie?
Well, I'm with you 100%. Where's the politician? Where are the people that needs to pull the muscles and make things happen? I'm pretty sure they have family relatives that are being affected by this. It's not just the people that live in there. This affects everyone. Once you open a floor, you damage the water or you affect the water. I mean, it goes across the board. So if you do it for one area, you're going to continue to do it somewhere else. So we need some people to pull some muscles there and talk and stop that orange creature that's in the office. I mean, come on now. This getting beside. He's getting beside himself.
Yeah, he is. But you know what his motivation is? Money.
Yes.
Period. So whoever has the highest bid, that's who he's going with.
Absolutely. But like I stated, if you go one area, it's gonna go to another area. We can't stay quiet and allow this man to keep signing off death sentence. That's like just killing a whole group of people and not even caring about it. Just keep going and keep going.
Mm-hmm. And I want the chat room to Google all the things that he reversed when it comes to environmental protection. It will literally knock you off your feet, because it's bananas that he would do something like this. And I don't know if it's out of spite or if it's just because, hey, that's his biggest constituents and his supporters, and they're just lining his pocket with money. But I mean, it's crazy that he's reversing all of these policies to protect us and our environment. What's your take on it, Scorpio?
Well, my take on it is, I don't remember, I think one or more than one of you guys brought up EPA and how EPA should be held accountable. My take on the EPA is that they already know about this. It's whether or not are they going to do the moral thing, or are they going to do the ethical thing? Because there's no way that they don't know about this problem. This is not the first time they've dealt with this type of crisis. So why are they not, doing something about this timeline? This is 5 years too long. Like, I don't understand why they're not moving forward with everything. And as far as Trump and the signing things over, of course he's doing the reverse of what Obama put into place, because Trump is an asshole. Let's just put it out there that he's what he is. He doesn't hide that about him. So I think that he's reversing a lot of things just out of spite, just to say, you know what, I'm the president, so I can do what I want with the stroke of a pen. So I think it's just an ego thing for him. And I'm continuously like toggling back and forth between the Flint article that I have pulled up and the one with Baltimore, and I'm looking at the same exact, it's like deja vu with these two incidences. We all know what happened to Freddie Gray, but I'd like to read a paragraph out of this article and just give the chat room an opportunity to kind of let some of this sink in, because I think we're going to see this happen again. Okay. The article reads as such: violence in the Black community often is blamed on a lack of police accountability, broken trust between officers and citizens, and failure to provide stable jobs for inner-city residents. A recent article in the New York Times sheds light on the violence that has grown increasingly worse in cities such as Baltimore since Freddie Gray's 2015 death in police custody. Yet the article's assertions about crime and violence exclude one important aspect that should not be ignored: Baltimore's alarming lead poisoning crisis. Gray, whose death sparked days of unrest, was diagnosed with lead poisoning as a child. His death became one of the most high-profile cases of police brutality in the country, and revealed that Charm City might not be so charming. Yet Gray is just one of the scores of young Black men in U.S. cities whose chances for better education, employment, and life were cut short, likely in part because of the deadly neurotoxin. So we're going to see
more
the same things happening with these kids that are being affected as we speak in Flint.
Right. That's why I stated earlier, the IEP, they're not getting the services they need. They're not getting the help they need. And they already know, once you're born, you could test a child. If you're 5'3", when you go to see the pediatrician, you should know already if he has lead poison or not. So they do a disservice to the people who live there as well. They all work hand in hand.
Yeah, it just seems like this is some kind of governmental experiment, and they're just trying to see, okay, if we put lead in the water, let's see how the Black people respond. let's see what measures or factors is going to affect him. Like I was looking at another story where they, you know, the Jewish community did this when they separated the twins, and it was to come to find out it was a doctor running this quote unquote experiment just to see if you put one in a poor community and one in a rich community, one with a rich parent and not so good parent, how it would happen until they were exposed about it. And it just makes me think about Flint. What if the government is really doing this just to see, okay, let's see what happens to these young Black children and their families. You know, let's see how this is going to affect them as an adult, or, you know, will they survive? You know, it's just all kind of crazy stuff. It's like, I don't put nothing past the federal government.
Me too.
Yes, the EPA, honestly, their job is to protect us and our environment. But unfortunately, in the Flint situation, I mean, they were basically telling workers to lie about the numbers and about the people that were being sick. And this Black lady was like, no, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell about the numbers. I'm going to speak out. And I'm going to basically say what, you know, what is happening. And I'm glad she did speak out. You know, so I mean, yeah, I just, yeah, it's crazy because for me, I think this is some kind of sick experiment that the federal government, unfortunately, we are the lab rats, and we are probably unaware of it, but I'm quite sure there's a lot of hidden hands behind the situation.
Absolutely.
I like that statement. I like that statement. A lot of hidden hands. And there's probably some people who are like, oh, there's no conspiracy theory. You're crazy. They don't do that. But what I say to them and that mindset is, if lead wasn't purposely placed into the water system, the lead pipes that are corroded, that aren't worthy of pure quality drinking water, have not been repaired. So either way it goes, the standard is not up to par. And officials need to be held responsible. Because $5.5 billion being lost from a city for over a decade from money mismanagement screams neglect. And also, too, Quantum 16, I don't know if you ladies dropped that article about the gentleman in Flint who created that vehicle that supplied over 1,000 gallons of water a day per citizen, and how it was sabotaged. But that, too, that is dirty. Like that gentleman, an Army vet at that, a Black, strong brother, Army veteran, created this vehicle that produced, like, pure water. And anybody in Flint can come to that vehicle and get gallons of water for free. Somebody jacked it up, infiltrated it, poisoned it, and, you know, pretty much sabotaged him. So here you have an Army veteran giving back to his community by supplying thousands of gallons of water, and some asshole sabotaged it. So it almost makes me think, are you looking at us now for only Black dollars? Is this situation being created to invest in someone else's, you know, salary? Are they now trying to dictate where we buy the water from? Because obviously we can't have an Army that's supplying free water. So now you sabotage that and make it to where this community that's already poor and can't support the large water infrastructure, they have to purchase water. So who's going to be the supplier? So it's just like a game, you know what I'm saying? A game of oppression, a game of depression, and it's not cool. And it also actually, too, it makes me think of Malcolm X. I read a little bit of a book earlier this morning in the wee hours, that it was an interview from Malcolm X and the Young Socialist, like in January 1965, right before he passed away. And basically in the interview, they were asking, you know, what can young activists do to eradicate racism? And Malcolm X was basically saying that, you know, what it comes down to is, where is the white committees protesting against this behavior with their own people? You know what I'm saying? Like, whites can't continue to integrate with Blacks and committees for Black-based programs. You understand what I'm saying? Like, where are the white people in the committees saying that this needs to change amongst each other? And I'm not trying to make it racial or sound biased or prejudiced, but what I'm saying is, where are the people speaking on this in leadership with the power?
No, absolutely.
We can't expect the citizens to have the solution. They're the ones in the fucked up situation. It's the condition of America. So it's like, what is going on and how is it going to stop? And it's very frustrating because these children are going to be the adults and they're not going to have a chance. So in that case, it is genocide. If you look at it as not being aggressive, but being benign, it is. Because if you just don't care about people getting water, then they die because they have no nutrients and they can't live. So whether or not you fix the water system today or in 20 years, the population just declined by half. So it's outrageous. It is very frustrating. And then lastly, too, you know, there are people giving back in mass flows. You know, there are different people from around surrounding cities, around Flint, that are coming together. You know, people from General Motors, people from Chrysler, people from all over who are getting U-Hauls and just pulling up to the city and, you know, passing out water, helping one another. But we can only do so much. The government is supposed to be helping us out. And, you know, as far as these policies and these politicians, they got to get their ass out if you're not going to serve the people. It's greed. And DeVos's and Rick Snyder and Trump, if y'all want to be back in office and be supported, you want your kids to have a future with nepotism, earn the vote.
Okay, so we're going to, I got 2 questions, and then we're going to talk about possible solutions before we close out. But first, do y'all remember when Obama went there and he supposedly drank the water and it was like, oh yeah, it's good enough to drink? And I was like, I guarantee you they did not get that damn water from anywhere out of any of those pipes. And then I seen a clip of one of the water plant workers who was saying, yeah, people can come here. They, you know, I know it's hard for people to trust us, but the water is drinkable. It's nothing wrong with the water. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm still seeing people, you know, online that's showing brown water that's coming out of their water faucets. So I don't trust it. So I just want to get your take on it, and then we're going to go to the next question. What's your take on it, ladies?
You know, I was rolling my eyes as you said Obama drank some of that water, because we all know he didn't drink the Flint water. That was a complete, yeah, that was a facade. I mean, just full of people. Exactly. What happens to us every day when we turn on the TV to watch news, or to, you know, basically, or if we jump online and watch anything from mainstream media, this is all a show, smoke and mirrors, as you said, you know, and I'm still pondering on the same thing. Why do they want this? The bigger question is why do they want this area cleared out? What is it about Flint? You know, because I'm no longer looking at it from the perspective of when are they going to fix the water system for the residents here. It's kind of like now I want to look at it from a different angle. Why does the government, because they're aware of the problem, the EPA is aware of the problem, everybody who needs to be made aware of the problem has been made aware of the problem. This is an ongoing problem for the past 5 years. So a solution should have been put in place by now. It's been enough time for them to get this problem fixed. So now the bigger question is, why do they want this area cleared out? What are their plans? And this goes kind of with what you said about the hidden hands. So we have to ask ourselves, what exactly does the government have in store for Flint? Why do they want these people gone? And it's not even that it's a racial thing. It's a poverty issue. It's economic status, you know, socioeconomic status that we're talking about here. Because the people who could get away from Flint, they've gone already.
That was my next question. Like, I was going to ask you ladies, like, what is it about the people who stay? Is it that they don't have the resources, the financial resources to leave? Do they think, you know, that, hey, the federal government is going to make a change and make the water better? Like, you know, why is it that people are still there? And I would say it's because they can't afford to leave, honestly.
Right. And I'm going to ask you the same questions, because you were a victim of Hurricane Katrina. Why did so many people stay and not evacuate?
Because they could not afford to leave. That's why they had so many school buses and Greyhound buses and people stealing U-Hauls, jumping in it and leaving, because they didn't have the money to go anywhere. I mean, the majority of the people are below poverty level.
It's the same problem that's going on in Flint. And I'm going to mute so we can hear from the other ladies. But yeah, I see it as the same problem.
I mean, I see it as the same problem also. People don't have the funds or the means or resources to leave. But you also, there's a bigger picture as well. You lived there all your life, and now you got to pick up and go because of natural disaster, and no one's helping you out. There's a lot of family who have who lived there for, I'm pretty sure, for a long time, and the homes are valuable. It means something to them. So it's kind of difficult to just pick up and go and just leave. You would want the government to be on your side, but we all know the government has not done right by us. Never have. We have been used as guinea pigs. We have been forced to get up and go. Whatever the government please, that's what they do to us. So I hopefully they get what they need to clean this water. I am so proud of the man who discovered and built something so they could clean the water. I'm just disgusted by the fact that someone came and destroyed it. I mean, what's that telling you? They don't want them there, I understand, but they shouldn't leave. It should stay there. How about that? Keep staying there, keep rebuild your home.
But what if that means me having to die, me just trying to fight it out and stay? Like, does that mean that I have to just slowly watch myself die or slowly watch my children die? You know, I guess it's a catch-22. Is it? Yeah,
yes,
leave,
it is.
You know,
but this is what I said earlier. Sorry, Quan. I don't mean to cut you off. That's what I'm saying.
Baby.
What are the politicians doing? I mean, you're seeing people dying left to right. There's got to be someone in there in that Congress. I mean, I don't even trust both of them, Democrats or Republicans. There's got to be someone in there who say enough is enough. Enough is enough. We got to go in Flint, do what we have to do. It's like, I don't believe people just going to stand by and allow. It's been going on for so many years now. I don't even know what's going on.
Okay, so just to kind of close out, because we're approaching right at an hour, I want to talk about solutions, what we can do today. And I'm going to get your take on it, ladies, and then we're going to close out. But I just personally believe that our first line of defense is getting the politicians' attention. And that means making phone calls, showing up at their office, showing up where they live, showing up wherever the hell you see them. If they give in a town hall, you show up and you voice your concerns. Because at the end of the day, you are their constituents. And without you, they cannot be in office. And even if that means removing their asses from office, hell, so be it. Let the chips fall where they may. Secondly, I think, if we can, if you can donate water to any organization, any reputable organization in Flint, Michigan, then do so. I wouldn't just put it in anybody's hand. Find out what organizations are legitimate. If you see a small, somebody that's basically, putting it out like this young vet, or not young, but this veteran who basically was, taking out his own resources and trying to give the people water, then, hey, take a note from his book and basically do the same thing. Ladies, I want to get your take on solutions, because, I mean, we can go on and on about this, but I want to get, a take on what you think we can do, as listeners, because it's one thing to be protesting online, but we need to hit the streets. We need to basically get out there and do something. So I want to get your take on it, and then we're going to close out.
Well, I'm with you 100%. Get to your politician, write those letters. Hell, take a bottle of that dirty water, walk around with it, let people know what you're drinking, how you're being affected. I mean, go in the black media, go online as well, YouTube, put the words out there, but let your politician know that this is really affecting you and your family. And if water are needed, you know what? We're going to send it out from New York, anywhere, Florida, everywhere. Just put the word out there and get to the politician.
Okay. I would say, as you ladies said, as far as the politicians, I would warrant the residents in that area to not back down from the politicians. I would literally continue to quote unquote harass them, and as long as you're not committing any crimes, but just make sure that they understand that this is a very pressing issue. And if there's anyone in the chat who lives in this area, please let us know if there's something that we can do, because we're all around. We're in several different states. So if there's something that we could possibly do, and contribute from wherever we are, please let us know if you are a Flint resident and you are being affected by this situation. And the only other thing I could say would be to see if we could seek out nonprofits that would allocate some resources, donate. I'd be willing to donate, to get these people some water, some clean drinking water for their families, because 9 times out of 10, the families that are still there are probably at the point where it's so expensive to have water, clean, fresh drinking water for everything that you need to cook, to drink, to bathe, for everything. It's expensive to buy bottled water. I mean, it's very expensive. So as you know, that's kind of what I came up with as far as solutions. But if anybody else in the chat has solutions, I would be open to hear it. So anybody in the chat room, if you have other solutions that we haven't covered, please feel free to share it in the chat room, because I think this is a very pressing issue, and we have to think about the children, if nothing else, because they're going to be the future generation. And if nothing else, we need to do whatever it is that we can to try and help the situation as far as the children are concerned.
Mm-hmm. And we got to follow up too. We don't want to just talk about this and then it falls at the wayside. So I want you guys to hold me accountable and make sure that we revisit this in a couple of months to see where we are. And if we got to do this periodically, then so be it. But we have to keep the irons in the fire, and we definitely have to make sure that we're not leaving anyone behind when it comes to Flint, Michigan. Alex, you have some last words or some solutions you would like to add?
Yeah, 16, I like what you had to say as well. You too, Carrie. And it's a very sensitive issue, man. It's depressing. I almost wonder maybe if we could sponsor a family, because Flint's not too far. You know, here in Lansing, Flint is like 45 miles away. Maybe we can sponsor a family, or, you know, I could speak to some people here and see if we can put together a U-Haul and just take down gallons, because it's $2.99 for a gallon of alkaline water. So if we could put together, you know, $500, we could take them thousands and thousands and thousands of bottles of water, and maybe just designate a family for the next couple of months and say, hey, you know, we love you, you're not alone. And also too, lastly, shock. We need to shock people. Maybe somebody is willing to get online and show their damaged instinct and the delay in motor skills and cognition to say, this is the effect of what the water is doing to my child. We need to apply pressure. So it's very sad. It's very sensitive, you know, but we can help. We can help. So definitely, yeah, if anybody's in the chat, email Griff and maybe ask how you can, you know, assist with some funding towards, because I'm here. I'm in this area, and it's nothing for me to take off 2-3 hours of my day to go with a brother or two and pull up and just say, hey, free water, we love you. So, you know, just stay encouraged for everyone that's in that area, Genesee County. And I think the information shared tonight is vital. And as far as the redlining in Flint and the racism in Flint and the segregation in Flint, that article statistic was real. And that's the real issue. So.
Absolutely. So we're going to close out. We would like to thank everyone for joining us. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Again, we thank everyone. We thank Professor Griff for giving us an opportunity. And make sure you go to his upcoming event on November the 23rd. I'll be dropping any information in the chat room. So we want to thank you. Peace. Ladies, you want to say peace?
Oh, yes. Peace, peace.
Rest well, family.
Peace, family. We will definitely revisit this Flint situation. I've already put it on my calendar for us to revisit it in, let's say, 90 days. And I want to thank Professor Griff for allowing us to use this platform so that we can get out this message to the masses. Rest well, family, and take care.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that, you know, when you drink that cup of water tonight, tomorrow in the morning, during the day, just remember there's a family out there that's in need. So anything you can do, please help.
Absolutely.
All right. Peace, fam. Have a good night.